2017. Notice has been duly posted. Roll call.
Mayor Joe Chilson,
Here.
Jim Benash,
Here.
Jared Holter,
Here.
Jan Brock,
Present.
Paul Gleason,
Here.
Knut Temte, excused, Craig Breitsprecher, excused, Stephen Knott.
Here.
Okay, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
So move.
Motion by Jim,
Second.
second by Paul, to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Public input. Anyone wishing to give public input could step to the microphone, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. So anyone wishing to give public input.
And this is regarding the First Free Church. My name's Dave Mighty. I'm
Could you speak into the microphone? Is that microphone on?
Yep. Can you hear me now? Yeah. So Dave Mighty with representing First Free Church. This is the appropriate time to just state our position as far as the conditional use permit. I just wanted to give the commission here a little background on that project. We'd like approval on the project to proceed with the addition. And 17 years ago, the original design was submitted to the city. And in that design, there was an easement on the east side of the property, which is planned for an overhill road. There's an entrance onto Mason Street, which is the current entrance. And in the original design, there was also an addition planned to be on the west side of that current building. The new addition we would like to propose is on the east side. There was additional parking that was shown on those drawings, and there was also a secondary fire access drive, which is on the west side of the property going north to Kylon Street. And there is in the minutes, there's a drawing kind of in the middle, and it's got a C2 on the lower right side, which is sort of hard to see what's going on there. That was the original design submission. But, in 17 years, the codes have changed. Fire trucks have got bigger, and, the requirement that we're looking at now to put a road for our secondary access, fire access drive into the easement at Overhill is definitely challenging. So we would like for you to consider that expense is quite a burden to the project, and hopefully the current secondary access, which is the gravel drive to Kylon, would be considered sufficient. We have had meetings with Jared, the city engineer, and Fire Chief Dominic, and Fire Chief's given us a lot of good insight into what happens with fires and the challenges and the response time required to get there. And I think with that knowledge, the church is certainly would look at an increased understanding by the traffic control individuals to make sure the primary entrance is open and clear, so that any fire that occurs there, that's the primary entrance is clear and the trucks can get there. And we'd just like you to consider that we'd like to move forward with the addition without putting the road in at the Overhill easement, and it's just a costly undertaking. So if there's any discussion or questions, I can probably answer.
We may call you up later as questions arise.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to give public input? Second call.
I'm Shane Holden. I'm the senior pastor of First Free Church, and just thought I'd share a little bit on behalf of the church. When we went into the project, the congregation approved a certain amount of money to do it and kind of stretched ourselves for that. So the fire, talking to the chief, understanding the position, respecting his position and his desire for safety, and obviously that's our heart as well, but the additional $300,000 burden that would be put on the project to put the fire road in possibly could make the whole project unfeasible for us. So as I stand here, I don't know if we'd be able to do the project or not. with the additional $300,000 that would be needed for the road. And so just for your consideration, in talking to the chief, we came to the conclusion that our present building is mildly unsafe insofar as it's not sprinkled. Where the new facility, the 17,000 square foot addition, where 85% of the 2,000 plus people gather, would be sprinkled. So we came to the conclusion that the church would be far safer with the addition than without the addition, even if we couldn't afford the fire road. So just thought I would share that with you guys for your consideration. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? Hank jumped right up. I didn't even have to say anything.
I'm well-trained. My name's Henry Cook. I'm a member of the First Free Church, live in Holman, and as a member, I support what the church is doing. There's also 3 members of the parking team, and since September of last year, we have been working in the parking lot with 5 to 8 people, helping with the traffic flow, and we think that has tremendously enhanced safety. And if you have any questions about what we're doing in the parking lot to manage the traffic coming in and out, happy to share that information with you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to give public input? No, I'm not close enough to the mic. Second call, anyone wishing to give public input? Can you hear me out there? Yeah, okay. Third call, anyone wishing to give public input? Okay, that portion is now closed. We'll go on with the stated agenda. Public hearing for consideration of a request for a conditional use permit to allow the operation of an animal daycare center located at 3220 Kinney Cooley Road South on Alaska, Wisconsin 54650, submitted by Greg Stengel, 3220 Kinney Road South, Kinney Cooley Road South, on Alaska, 54650, tax parcel number 18-3654-85. Katie.
Thank you. The property owners requested a conditional use permit to allow for the operation of a dog boarding and grooming facility in a light industrial zoning district, M1, intending to replace the existing business operation, Cooley Kitchens and Bath, with the animal boarding and grooming facility known as Happy Trails Daycare and Grooming. It would be approximately 6,000 to 7,000 square feet in area with built-in kennels and two play areas for large and small dogs. They do intend to fence in an area for outdoor runs and potentially increase those areas with additions as need arises, which is shown on the map in your packet. The business is expected to operate Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. with weekends as needed in the future. They intend to file for and obtain all necessary county and state permits prior to opening the business. City staff reviewed 4 standards for compatibility starting. The zoning of the land within 250 feet includes parcel zone single-family residential, single-family indoor duplex residential, multifamily, and light industrial, including the applicant's property, another residence, and a senior living facility. Other uses include professional offices and a manufacturing business. Looking at consistency with the comprehensive plan, this area is designed as a mixed-use district, which allows complementary land uses with a variety of commercial and residential mixed together. Importance of services to the community. Such a facility and businesses are popular with pet owners and will allow an additional option for animal care in the Onalaska area. In terms of neighborhood protections, it is replacing a current industrial business. The Cooley Region Humane Society is located south of this area, and the applicant intends to follow all required measures to properly handle animal waste. They will also be required to do site plan review, so city staff will consider that as it's needed for any improvements that are made outside of the structure. A public hearing will be held. Such opinions should be listened to before deciding on the project. City staff have come up with 9 conditions of approval tied to this development.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. At this time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Please state your name and address.
Greg Stangle, 3210 South Kinney Cooley Road. I guess I know that I wasn't able to make the last meeting due to I had to stay at my business. So I don't know. I know that Katie said that there was a few questions about a few things that you guys had to ask. One was noise, which I have kind of went over that with them. The equipment that runs inside the building right now is running at a point that you have to basically wear ear protection all the time. Nobody really even notices that it's running outside of the building. The other thing was the waste, and I did talk to Jared, and basically it's keep it contained, odor control, and basically all our garbage goes into the incinerator, so it's burned. So as far as other things about the business, I'm hoping that it expands and employs several people down the road, and we can get more hours of operation over time. I find that there's a lot of there's a few of these places. There's about 4 or 5 in the La Crosse and Onalaska area, and they seem to be turning people away nonstop from what I'm finding out. So I think it'll be beneficial to the area, and I also have several businesses right in the area and hotels that would probably greatly appreciate having the close proximity. So I guess that's about it, other than I just wanted to make a point of the first map that I gave you where it jogged over. I am not really sure why the surveyor, he turned in the first one where it's a rectangle, and the actual surveying map has that jog in, and he never submitted it, and I'm assuming I just got to get that to the county, and I'll take care of that, so the fence on that first phase might go a little bit more if there's any questions about that. Other than that, any questions for me?
Okay, well, we may have some questions later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Second call, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Third and final call, anyone wishing to speak in favor? That portion is now closed. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Second call, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Third and final call, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? The public hearing is now closed. What is the wish of the commission?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the conditional use permits, operation of an animal daycare center located at 3220 Kinney Cooley Road South, Onalaska, to include the 9 conditions.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Jim Banash to approve with the 9 conditions, seconded by Steve. Discussion. Yes.
I just have one, and I brought this up at the subcommittee too. I know this is a county ordinance, but on number 18, it says the operator has a right to dispose of the animal should the owner not appear or contact the kennel. If having owned dogs, and I know sometimes something might come up, what is your opinion as to how you might handle a situation like that one, where the owner can't make it, and by dispose, I'm not exactly sure what that might mean.
Please identify yourself again for the
Greg Stangle.
Thank you.
As far as that goes, I'm working with the Humane Society, which is right below our property, of how to making sure that I can contact them if I cannot contact the owners, or everybody that's going to have any animals that are dropped off for daycare are going to have to give backup person to contact, so that I have other people to go to other than just them if something would happen to them. So I want somebody outside of the house, basically, another relative or friend that can be contacted. I'll be getting a list from everybody when I do the application process for every person that comes in. It's actually a long list for the application process that I'm planning to put together. So
All right, thank
will
you.
be other contacts. Thanks.
Jan?
Another question.
Oh,
Sorry. When I was out there today, there's a for sale sign. Is that for,
There is 50 acres out there, and there's other property that, my mother lives in the gray house.
that's the one to the back?
Yeah, that's to the
And then
back.
there's a house to
then
the south?
I'm the one in the front of the white building, and then the one, it would be southeast, that's my mother's, and beyond that, there's about another 45 acres down in the lower land. We're trying to get rid of what we can, because it's not really usable at this point, and just paying taxes for a bunch of fields to grow.
And just one other question. The building that you intend to use, it's the front building and then the back one too, is that correct?
Yes.
And then the dog run would be out from that? How close is that to the?
Yes, it would be in the backside.
Backside,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. That's the first phase of of any enclosures. I did put in the map that there's a possibility of the front of the building where, if you look at the aerial map, there's
Right.
A-frames of everything
Right.
that is going to be discarded and it's going to be gone. And I might at some point fix that up unless I just use it as parking. It's going to be used for either parking or for that purpose. I am working with somebody that is interested in some of the back property right now, which we'll see how that goes. I got a lot of meetings to go through with him too, so. But if he wants the back, I'll let. That's why I got the two different phases going, so see how that pans out.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Mayor?
any other questions?
Mayor?
Jared?
Couple things here. One, during the site plan process, we'll catch it, but we're gonna need to know where your parking area and drop off and everything's gonna be, and being on two different properties and everything, it's gonna be interesting, just trying to see how that all fits together.
Sure.
One thing, when I look at the map and the color map that shows a professional office building right next door, and it shows the dog run coming out the side of the building and kind of following the property line, it's getting pretty close to the window of that professional office building, and I know they're going to control their.
Sorry. The wood fence line, I just used that. That's our existing property line. I don't have intentions of going all the way to that. Everything, and as far as the landscaping, it's basically to that side, it's a big drop off. It's more of a hill going down towards that fence. I just happen to use that as our property area.
Yeah. I just wondering if it may be something where we want to have a distance from the lot line or from that office building. I'd hate to have the fence stay there and then be, that professional office building is probably, 8 feet off the property line or so, and if he's on the fence, it just could get.
What my intentions were is the large building back there, where the far corner is of the farthest building to the south, that would be the maximum I would go with it.
Okay.
And that would be the end of the level area.
Okay.
Other than that, it drops basically off. So
That would assist with that question. In your letter, you've stated 30 to 50 pets. Is there something from the Plan Commission standpoint, do we want to put a limit before he's got to come back, or there's a lot of land and a lot of building there. I don't know how many one of these businesses?
The one in Onalaska is running at, their capacity, from what I've found out, is right around 100. Or they're actually running about at 100 a day. And on weekends mostly, that's when their peak is. There is one on Mormon Coulee Road. On weekends, holidays, they're maxing out at 75, and it's a lot smaller facility than what my building even is. So I'm figuring on right around the maxing, probably at about that 75 to 80 area by the amount of employees that I want to have in the facility. Figuring once we get to a point, between Amy and myself, once we get to a point that I am going to be at about 25 to 30, I'm definitely going to have to start hiring people, depending on the hours of operation too. Then I want to know where my cap is on how many employees I even really want to have to keep filling positions. And I'm kind of working on that right now at this given time.
So Jared, are you suggesting a cap?
Well, I mean, it's a conditional use permit, so if it could always be brought back if we felt it was getting too many or out of hand, so.
Okay.
I didn't know, I just bring it up, said 30 to 50, and I didn't, you know.
That was my starting point. I'm planning on for a starting point, and as I phase everything out of the building, most of my equipment's going to be phased out right away, but I probably will keep. We do outside remodeling work too. That's with the business, so I will keep that portion going at this point until it's up and running fully.
Okay.
And then I'm up to just under 12,000 square feet total of building space. So it's feasible to handle about 150 if needed. But
Yeah, we'll need to talk then.
yeah, that I kind of figured.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments?
Yeah, just wanted to address what Jared was saying. I was figuring between 30 to 50 pets, so if we're going to discuss this at some point in the future, should there be an extension to that, we can do that. But again, this is with the understanding, and with my understanding, it would be between 30 to 50 pets. And just make that part of the record at this time.
I think that's fair because that's what was applied for, yeah.
Do we want to put that,
You want an addendum to the motion? Or we just make that understood?
Make a condition if you choose.
I would, if we're going to do anything, I think we need to get it in writing. So we would need a 10th condition then.
All right, I guess I have to amend my motion to include a 10th condition to include that the pets would not exceed 50 at this particular time, and should the owner of the facility wish to extend that to more pets, he would come back to the commission to get permission, conditional use permit.
Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second.
Second by Steve. Discussion on the amendment. Hearing none, yes, Katie?
I just have a question. Would that mean that if the applicant went to go beyond 50, would that be a formal amendment to the conditional use permit, or would you just review it at that time? Meaning, would we have another public hearing at that point?
I think we'd have to have another public hearing.
Okay,
We'd
all right,
need
just wanted to
A
confirm.
lot of animals in the general area, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? It is amended. Now, the motion as amended. All in favor? Paul?
I have one question.
Okay.
Is it,
Yep, go ahead. Go ahead. Now's the time to ask.
and this is not necessarily for the owner. I was a little surprised to see the condition that the facility needs to be inspected and approved by the Cooley Region Humane Society staff. And my concern is that when I looked at that, it's, wait a minute, we got one private entity that's inspecting and exerting control over another private entity. And philosophically, I have a problem with that. So can I get some explanation from someone?
Yes, so Cooley Region Humane Society works with La Crosse County, and they do all the inspections. So this isn't just specific for this facility, that's who they contract with, so they have to have that approval.
So they're contracted with La Crosse County to
They're
inspect
tied together for these types of
to
facilities.
standards that are set by La Crosse County?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Okay, a public hearing for consideration of request for a conditional use permit to allow an addition to the northeast corner of the existing building at 123 Mason Street, Onalaska, Wisconsin, 54650, submitted by David Mighty. Okay, good. A Fowler and Hammer on behalf of Mark Brockberg of the First Evangelical Free Church, 123 Mason Street, Onalaska, Wisconsin, 54650, tax parcel number 18-2096-32. Katie?
Thank you. So this conditional use permit application is to amend the existing CUP that we have on file for the First Free Church. It's to allow for an addition and also new parking, which is shown on the map in your packet. For compatibility, parcels within 250 feet of this property are zoned family and or duplex residential, including an existing church and a resident, multifamily and business, and also light industrial. Additionally, there are residential properties within the town of Onalaska, which are zoned rural and residential A. Uses within 500 feet of the site include city public uses, senior housing, professional offices, residential condo storage units, and a commercial supply businesses. And looking at consistency with a comprehensive plan, this area is listed as institutional, with the intended use to accommodate civic, institutional, and related uses, including churches, schools, libraries, etc. For importance of services with the community, according to the applicant, the purpose of this request is to expand the space of the churchgoers and other like events. Looking at neighborhood protections, if the amendment application is approved, the city will be requiring a site plan review to have that approval prior to construction to consider neighborhood protections, which does include access to the property. As there will be a public hearing to be held, such opinion should be listened to before deciding. City staff have compiled 7 conditions of approval tied to this development.
Okay. I'll open the public hearing. Those wishing to speak in favor, please state your name and address.
Sure. My name is Philip Dias. I'm from Onalaska, Wisconsin, 124 Theater Road. I'm a member of First Free Church. I was also hired by First Free as a construction manager to help find a contractor to build this project. Over a year and a half ago, we've been working on this project, and due to the growth of the church and the size and what was originally permitted and under the original conditional use permit, this is one of those criteria where I'm in favor of the committee trying to help a church in their growth plans to be able to not only protect the body that is already in place today, but any growth that we have in the future, because we're building it big enough to hold the people in one service, but at this time, we're not at that full capacity right now to be able to hold this many parishioners. So we have all Saturday services and 2 Sunday services, which we'll probably always have. But, you know, I know there's some of those 7 items. Is that right, Jared? 7 items. that are causing some financial problems because of the size and scope of the additional requirements that the city is requiring at this time that we don't want to compete with, but we'd like to also try to reconcile in some other manner that we can recognize the existing access roads as such for fire usage. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Hi there, I'm Mark Brockberg. I live in 1551 West Young Drive on Alaska. I'm the executive pastor at First Free Church, and I'll just say it this way. I think, the benefit of the church and the amount of people that we have attending the church and the benefit to the community is tremendous. And so I think really what we're asking here in this addition is to create more safe and with that, or more space, and with that even a facility that is safer for the people to attend and worship. And certainly, under a maybe a more favorable condition when you think about a road, the cost of this road that we're talking about is much further beyond what we would have anticipated or expected, and that's our issue here. It's not so much of not wanting to have a road, but when we think about the cost involved. So certainly we want to ensure safety, but when we think about what we're really doing in the bigger picture is we're creating more space, we have a sprinkler system, and we're creating more parking, and I think that we've got the infrastructure in place to be able to get people in and out of that space adequately. So with that, I hope you would give strong consideration when you think about the nature of this project, the benefit to the community, benefit to Fowler and Hammer, and all that's going on here, that you take that into consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Second call, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Third and final call, anyone wishing to speak in favor?
My name is Parker Kelly, W7129, W. Wilson Road, Holman, Wisconsin. Been attending First Free Church for a number of years, maybe 5 or 6. I have a lot of respect for our leadership and the time and prayer that's gone into planning in this facility. I echo Pastor Mark's statement about the benefit to the community. Formerly, my wife and I attended a small church up in Holman. And it was impressive to me when we came to First Free Church in Alaska, not only the size of the church, but the ability of the church to attract those from the community that really needed a church family, more so than a church of 70 or 80 people could do in Holman. I'd also like you to know that safety at First Free Church is a huge priority, and that's a priority of mine and the leadership of church. I run a life safety team at First Free Church where we aim to help people with medical conditions. We aim to keep our children safe, and we aim to protect our facility against anything that would cause harm to the people that attend there. I know that fire is a big deal, and I want you to know that we have people at every service whose primary dedication it is, whose volunteer role it is to look out for things like that. So when we have medical issues, within seconds we're at the side of that person needing care. We're taking care of them despite the fact that it can take anywhere from 12 to 18 minutes for Tri-State to arrive. So we're supporting them. We're CPR trained, we're AED trained, we're taking care of these people. Similarly with fire, if something were to break out, obviously that is our primary role. So I want you guys to know that that volunteer team of 23 people exists. We're staffed at every service, and we're here to support folks like Chief Trotnick and others. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Again, my name is Henry Cook. I live in Holman, Wisconsin, member of First Free Church. And I want to also add on to the safety issue because normally I sit up with you as staff in these meetings, and this is a little different for me now as a citizen to have to talk about it that affects my life. Safety is really important, and it's a hard thing also for you because the worst thing in your mind has to be between perhaps first and second service with people coming out, people going in. If a fire occurred, how would the fire chief get there? How would the equipment get there? And we had an incident 2 weeks ago. We had a young lady that fainted, and it was between the first and second service. And the parking team was out there, and Life Services was there. We have radio contact with all the groups in that. And we saw the police car come in, and we knew something was coming because of an ambulance. And Dave happens to be at the far entrance, and he didn't need an intercom. He didn't need a radio. You could hear him across the parking lot, incoming. And all of us have vests on, flags on. We immediately looked at the roads to make sure they were clear. We were ready to flag, et cetera, and do these things. And so there is this safety thing that has been put in place, and I want you to give serious consideration to that we're not saying we just want an exemption because it's costly. We share with you the concern for safety, and we're doing things to try and make that a safe place for this. The other thing we do is we go through the parking lot, and we make sure people are not parked in the fire lanes. They are not blocking areas. So that if we have an emergency where an ambulance has to get there or a police has to arrive, we're not letting people block those entrances. I hope that little consideration will weigh in your decision as to whether this road is necessary or not. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to give public input? Second call, anyone wishing to give public input? Third and final call, anyone wishing to give public input? That portion is now closed. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Second call, anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
I'm Joan Much. I live at 2721 Ray Place in La Crosse, and I am one of the owners of the Eagle Crest condominiums that are on the page here at 251. I was just wondering, are they planning on doing an extension of the road of Overhill Drive all the way down to Mason Street?
Katie?
That, we'll discuss that once we're done here, but that's one of the proposals that's brought forward, yes.
Not brought forward yet?
That's one of the proposals in the conditions tonight. We're going to discuss that after we get public comment.
Okay. Another thing is we have had a meeting about 2 months ago, a month ago, I remember, but we have the condo there, all of our pole buildings, they're cold storage buildings. There's many items of value in each one of these condos, the buildings. And we've had put up private property in the front and in the back, but we have had problems with vehicles leaving the church and cutting through our lots. But we have talked as far as I know, that we have talked to the church, someone did, and they have remedied that, and I hope it stays that way. But I would like to know if they're going to open any more roads on that.
We'll speak about that after public input.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to give, or anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Second call, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Third and final call, Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? The public hearing is now closed. What is the wish of the commission?
I'd like to
Or
make a
Jared?
motion.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the conditional use permit to allow a northeast corner of the existing building at 123 Mason Street on Alaska to proceed.
Motion by Jim Benosh to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Steve. Questions?
We'll go to the conditions list that's in your packet tonight.
Okay.
There's a couple of the conditions at the end are boilerplate conditions. Numbers 5, 6, and 7 are boilerplate conditions. Condition number 1 is a conditional use fee that has been paid. Condition number 2 does have some of the conditions that were part of the original conditional use permit. So tonight, conditions 3 and 4 are really at the crux of what was added for this development. Go over here.